What is good, Cardano fam, ADA gang? We have lots of exciting updates to unpack today, so hit that subscribe, hit that like. Cardano ADA 24-hour trade volume surpasses $1.4 billion according to CoinGecko. CoinMarketCap ranks Cardano as the 7th most bullish community sentiment at over 88%. Handle surpasses 70,000 owners worldwide, making Cardano simple to use with easy to remember human-readable cryptographic addresses since 2022. Bitfinex, with over 1.6 million users, says Cardano's block production never stopped. Exchanges, block explorers, and DeFi applications face delays and inconsistent data, but no funds were lost. The network may ultimately emerge more resilient. They wrote a fantastic blog, and this goes alongside, of course, what we've seen from crypto researcher Justin Bonds defending Cardano, Solana co-founder Anatoly defending Cardano, and many more. Input-output advances Ouroboros Leios closer to integration, completing 41% of their milestones, including 80% of the improvement proposal, with over 2,100 updates and over 673,000 lines of code, according to the 24/7 Leios development tracker. So we're getting closer. Charles Hoskinson responding to TapTools, calling Cardano and Midnight the future fabric of society. Charles Hoskinson says the pentad can talk with one voice, collectively negotiate and have a conversation with all of these bridges, stablecoins, oracles, analytics, and more. Get the deals done and pair them with dApps to make sure they get used. Charles says there needs to be outreach on the institutional side, so we're building a communications channel for all major analytic firms, institutions, and VCs to give seminars on what's happening on Midnight, and we can do the same with Cardano. Charles says we're thinking about creating the Cardano Business Unit, or CBU, to be our interface into the pentad to aggregate our ecosystem side, engineering side, and governance work we do into one structure to represent input-output. Charles says we're reevaluating a lot of the languages and design decisions we made in every part of the stack to have higher velocity, lower maintenance costs, and take advantage of the AI revolution, ultimately amplifying productivity while still doing the peer review and formal methods. Charles says there needs to be a new ambassador program for 2026. There already is one. The ambassadors we have are great, but we need more, and we need to re-up and invest in them, and the same for the influencer layer. I think that's a great initiative. Charles says, what is my definition of success for these top 10 to 15 dApps? If we can get them to a certain level of scale and safety, would I feel safe putting my own Night token and ADA into that to get a yield? Yes or no? And I think that's a fantastic statement, right? Is he going to be comfortable using his own money to use the top dApps in a dApp showcase, so to speak? Fantastic view, I think. Charles says Cardano has an exclusive launch, RealFi. We never left Africa. I gave over 1 million loans in Kenya and Uganda. It's the ultimate bear market dApp because yield is off-chain, has nothing to do with crypto markets, and has predictable returns. So while DeFi returns can be volatile, this is something that will be consistent, and I'm going to release another video this week where RealFi, Charles says, is looking to do something with Glacier drops, so could be huge. Another fantastic drop for Cardano holders, and that's a great utility, something that can live and thrive outside of a bull market. Charles says Hydra is one of our most powerful technologies. Hydra can truly do 1 million transactions per second, and it's on a dApp-by-dApp basis. More Hydra goodness, saying the guys at DeltaDeFi have done a phenomenal job of being the first mover in the next generation of Hydra applications on the Cardano ecosystem. Charles says we'll ask those 10 to 15 dApps in the showcase, is there a path to upgrade them to be Hydra-enabled? That means all of them will operate with Solana speed individually, costing almost nothing for the network while enjoying super fast performance. Charles says, so we get Leios to make the base network significantly faster, we hear him say 60x, and then Hydra to make each dApp significantly faster. So these will complement one another very well. Leios on the base layer, Hydra for each dApps as a secondary layer. Charles says, I can work with Midnight Foundation, Intersect, and worked historically well with EMURGO. I think we can work very productively and effectively with Cardano Foundation. We're completely aligned on transparent external goals. That's what I'm talking about. Executive function, cohesive team with the pentad, newfound unity, in the words of Charles. I think that's great to steer the ship in one direction while still working alongside the community. That's great. The Midnight Whiteboard video by Charles Hoskinson surpasses 6 million views on YouTube. Night launches very soon, less than 1 week, December 8th. SEC Chairman Paul Atkins, guys, he's been dropping tons of alpha, and not once did I hear the word Bitcoin. So while Bitcoiners will spin his quotes to just specifically target Bitcoin, the 6 posts we're going to go over here, he doesn't even mention Bitcoin. That's why we call him Paul Altcoin Atkins. He says we need to give investors and innovators the certainty and a framework under which they can invest, or on the innovator side, to develop their products and can prove their concept to see whether or not it's taken up by investors. Clarity, right? Paul says tokenization has the benefit of potential T0 trade date for clearance and settlement, delivery versus payment, and receipt versus payment on-chain, which would de-risk markets, making them much more transparent and sure for clearance and settlement. Furthermore, he says financial services, major banks, and brokers are absolutely moving towards tokenization. It's the way the world will be, maybe even a couple of years from now, not even a decade. I think that all of this modernization of the markets is good. Paul Atkins says the next step is coming with digital assets, digitization, and tokenization of the market. And that'll bring huge benefits with decreasing risk and making things much more predictable and transparent on-chain. Paul says we're actually embracing crypto, and I believe that we need to be embracing it to keep the United States at the forefront. We want to embrace this new technology, bring it onshore where it can work under American rules. Finally, Paul says the Clarity Act that was passed by the House, we'll see where that goes in Congress. I'm hoping that they'll be able to get that through. And of course, Charles Hoskinson, just a few weeks ago, predicted that the Clarity Act will pass in Q1 of next year. Could be as early as January. We'll see. We're seeing a lot of bullishness, guys. Binance sharing this post saying we are going to see a market comeback in Q1 of 2026, February and March will be a bull market again based on a combination of macro indicators. And this is coming from head of research at CoinMarketCap on market cycles. Binance also introducing Binance Junior. This is kind of a simplified application where parents can go forth with this, has tons of guardrails in place. You can't buy or sell, but it's to introduce kids to kind of a very safe and limited version of crypto to familiarize them with just a few tokens. I did my research to see if it involves ADA. It doesn't seem like it, but if one of you guys does have access to Binance, check it out. I live in Canada, so I can't even access this to even see for myself, but I imagine it's just a few select tokens, coins if you will, but also it's really nice to onboard them and educate them. So I think efforts like this, very good for the entire industry. Ripple projecting $16 trillion tokenized economy. And this is why compliance, resilience is so important. This is why I really like ADA, XRP. I think they complement one another, unless we forget that Charles wants to bring XRP ledger integration to Lace Wallet, wants to explore yield options, wants to also explore, as he said, DeFi for XRP. But beyond that, of course, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and even Dogecoin. So a lot of great excitement is back. That's why we see this surging. Polymarket predicts a 94% chance the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates by 25 basis points in a week on December 10th. Finally, just want to give a big shout out to the CEO of Cardano Foundation, Frederick Regard, for sharing this post that we shared from Palm Economy. And it's just great. Big shout out to them. I'm very happy that Cardano Foundation, EMURGO, Intersect, Midnight Foundation, and Input Output are working together. Triforce type beat. So market is looking nice. Good to see some green. We still have a ways to go, right? ADA right now, 449. It was dancing with 45 cents, but still good to see some green. XRP 2.19, Bitcoin 93. So it's as if, like just 2 weeks of dips as if it never happened. So things can change very, very fast. I think the shout out, definitely, this goes back to back. Didn't expect Paul Atkins to be discussing so much alpha. I think we have to hand it off to him. And it aligns again with the statement that we saw from Charles, where just a few weeks ago, he was talking about Brad Garlinghouse being one of the hardest working people on the Clarity Act. He also expanded, saying that the Clarity Act, right, passing in Q1 of 2026, his prediction, but also that that's basically the catalyst for Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Meta, and more to enter crypto. So it could be huge, guys. Let me know your thoughts. What do you guys think about Paul Altcoin Atkins? Smash that subscribe, smash that like. I'll see you guys in the next Angry Crypto Show.